I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap-up, the WNW 174 for Friday, January 23rd, 2015. Lots of top stories are out there, and they're all coming out of the Middle East. Let's start with Yemen. Yemen has fallen. The president is out. The country is in chaos, in anarchy. There is no formal government in Yemen. This was supposed to be some sort of a bright spot that President Obama, mentioned, a few months ago that Yemen was going great. Well, now it's a complete and total disaster in the hands of radical Islam. Add that to the fact that King Abdullah has died in Saudi Arabia. They have appointed a successor, but he's going to be facing a huge problem on the southern border. Yes, radical Islam, radical terrorists that hate America and its allies. And last I checked, Saudi Arabia was listed as an ally of America. How long do you think it's going to take for these radical Islamists to attack and try to topple Saudi Arabia? Remember I told you they were amassing men and machines to go after ISIS or ISIL, in Syria and western Iraq? And I said, well, they might be there to, help out Saudi Arabia if it gets into trouble. Expect some of those tanks, men, troops, planes, drones to be diverted to Saudi Arabia. They are in trouble. Saudi Arabia is going to be attacked. It's just a matter of when. And probably in pretty short order, the U.S. can't allow that to happen, because if that happens, it's lights out petrodollar. You can expect the U.S. to fight tooth and nail to keep the royal family in power and our allies. It's going to be a heck of a fight, and you can see, it just appears to me the entire Middle East is unraveling. In another story, Israel attacked positions in Syria and killed the son of a Hezbollah leader, a top Hezbollah leader, and also an Iranian general. They didn't mean to kill the general, so the Israelis say. But Hezbollah and Iran now vow to counterattack and invade northern Israel. The Israelis say, well, listen, this was a preemptive strike, and they were going to attack us anyway. But this could be ugly. I mean, Hezbollah is going to be backed fully by Iran. Hezbollah has thousands, tens of thousands of missiles supplied by Iran. They could rain down missiles on Israel that could swamp, could overtake, could overrun completely, diminish the Israelis' Iron Dome missile, anti-missile technology. I mean, there's only so many missiles they could stop. They have tens of thousands of missiles. And if that happens, look for a major escalation between Israel, Hezbollah, and Iran. Israel will move. It's a small country, and it will move quickly to stop the rockets coming in on them. And they are going to... This is going to be ugly, fast, and bloody if this gets out of control. And I think it will get out of control. And the attacks may even include, from Israel, to Iran's nuclear program. They just may say, well, you're sponsoring Hezbollah, your generals and your people are on our border attacking us, we're going to attack you. And that'll touch off World War III. If not then, sooner. Meanwhile, Iran just signed a defense pact with Russia, and that could send these very sophisticated S-300 missiles to Iran. They were supposed to get them in 2010, but Russia was playing along with the U.S. and wanted to, observe the sanctions, and they didn't allow these missiles to be sent to Iran. Well, that's off. You can see, the tensions between the U.S. and Russia, and them, saying, why should we play along? And they may send these sophisticated defense missiles to Iran. These missiles could thwart an Israeli airstrike on its nuclear program. Could. On top of that, the Israelis say they are have released new photos, satellite photos, that the Israelis claim show Iran has a new ballistic missile. And this missile has a reach it could go far past the Middle East. Now, the Iranians have repeatedly said their nuclear program is for the peaceful production of energy, and the Iranians have also repeatedly said it's not going to curtail their program. They're not going to curtail their nuclear program. They have the right to nuclear energy. They have the right to have this kind of technology, and nobody can come in and take it away from them. That's what the Iranians have said multiple times. Something on that order. That's not a direct quote. Closer to home, Congress invited Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, to address a joint session of Congress. The White House was bypassed, and now it says that they will not be meeting with Netanyahu when he's in town. The official reason, the White House says, is because Netanyahu's close to an election, and they don't want to show favoritism to one party or one leader this close to an election. Of course, they could meet with Netanyahu covertly and not make any fuss over it and say they're not doing it, but I don't think that's going to happen. Other sources say, listen, the real story is the Obama administration is hopping mad that they were bypassed. Another thing that happened is that Secretary of State John Kerry was quoted as saying, well, Mossad, that's the Israeli intelligence forces. Mossad says that any new sanctions on Iran, it's going to be like, quote, throwing a hand grenade, into the negotiations, end quote. Mossad came out and said, that didn't happen. We didn't say that. We did not say that. So, Netanyahu is going to come and address Congress. He's going to talk about how close Iran is to their nuclear program, this new ballistic missile, no doubt, that he's going to ask for sanctions and something even tougher if they don't comply with curtailing this program. And he's going to find plenty of people in Congress who are going to be very sympathetic to the Israelis and Netanyahu. Well, number one, Speaker of House John Boehner, who has been very distraught and publicly angered about the way the nuclear negotiations, the curtailment of Iran's program have gone. We've, given them back and unfrozen billions of their dollars, and, we haven't gotten much return, according to, Boehner. And Boehner's been so upset that he has said, quote, hell no, end quote. His quote, hell no, that's his quote, to a bad to signing a bad Iranian nuclear deal. And that what's up next, the Obama administration, another reason why he's upset, he knows he's going to have to veto legislation where, Congress gets together, House and Senate, and sends him a bill that says we want much stricter sanctions on Iran if they don't curtail their program in a certain amount of time. They're going to put a deadline on it. No more extensions. And here's exactly what we want. They're going to spell it out. They're going to get plenty of Democrats to go along with it in the House, and I don't mean one or two. They're going to get many Democrats that will go along with it. They'll also get many Democrats in the Senate to go along with it, including big, high-powered Democrats like Senator Menendez from New Jersey. And then that bill is going to go to Obama's desk, and he has said, like in the State of the Union address, he talked about 4 vetoes. This is one of them. He's going to veto any legislation that, piles on sanctions to curtail Iran's nuclear program. And I think this veto has a good chance of being overridden. Remember I told you the trend is going to be that as we get closer and closer to 2016, more and more Democrats are going to vote with Obama. The Democrats got killed. They had their heads handed to them in the 2014 midterm elections. There were Democrats running against their own president, boasting about how they stood up to Obama. They were Democrats. And I suspect that Obama realizes that his first veto, which would be this, if they get this bill through sanctioning Iran, his first veto would be overridden with the help of many Democrats. This every week, there's no such thing as a slow news day or a slow news week. I mean, every week we have something, a new wrinkle in the whole, economy or war scenarios that are intensifying. On the financial front, the European Central Bank, the ECB, decided that it was going to drop a money bomb and start printing money. They call it quantitative easing, QE. But they're going to do $70 billion, the equivalent of $70 billion a month. But here's the catch. The ECB says that we're only responsible for 20%. Other central banks, like in France and Germany and Italy and other places, they're responsible for making up the rest of it, to take on all this debt that'll never be paid back. That's what we're talking about. Buying more bonds, the mistakes and fraud of bankers. So the system over there and the banks over there don't implode. Who's going to pick up the 80%? Do you think Italy has the wherewithal to do that? I don't think so. They're in trouble. Spain, trouble. Ireland, trouble. Greece, they're wanting debt forgiveness. They're not going to be printing money to pay off bonds. They're not doing that. And Germany, whoa, the country that hates money printing. They're not going to pick up 80% of the tab. They're the only country that has a real economy that's still halfway functioning. No way. I don't see how this can work. Even though the stock market thinks, woohoo, more money printing, go up 200-300 points. I don't see how this can work. And, you know, you take a look at what's going on with the euro. Bzz, it's sinking. Of course, they're printing money. And look at the dollar. Boom. The cleanest dirty shirt in the hamper, it's climbing up. And tonight, Gregory Mannarino called me, or today, Gregory Mannarino called me and said, hey, I want to remind you, a lot of corporate profits, these multinationals, U.S. multinationals, come from overseas, and a strong dollar kills their profits. He says the Fed can't let that happen. Good point. I'll include it. So look for the Federal Reserve to start its own money printing and to drop the dollar down. I mean, we just got to, we have now the ECB printing money, the Bank of Japan, Crazyville money printing, the UK, the Bank of England money printing, and then pretty soon it'll be the big Western central banks all printing money like crazy. That's going to fix things. You see how well that's worked so far. We're coming to the end of the road, folks. We're coming to the end of the road of the money printing. It's kind of like heroin. You need more and more and more of it until finally, boom, you're dead. There are also plenty of other, signs that the economy is not in this so-called recovery, and also plenty of other reasons why the Fed may decide, well, we can't raise interest rates, and we're going to print tons of money because the economy's in trouble. Think about just the recent layoffs. I mean, we've had tens of thousands of oil workers laid off because of this plunge in oil prices. American Express, announced about 4,000 more layoffs. eBay announced 2,400 layoffs. They're closing. Ann Taylor is closing stores. JCPenney's closing stores. Macy's is closing stores. I mean, big banks like Bank of America announcing layoffs. Is that the sign of a growing economy? And they keep touting this ridiculous 5.6% unemployment rate, and if you computed unemployment the way it was done by the Bureau of Labor Statistics in 1994 and earlier, according to John Williams of shadowstats.com, it'd be about 23%. Underemployed, unemployed. About 23%. And let's not forget the labor participation rate, which is at 38-year fresh lows. It's about almost 93 million people no longer counted in the workforce. That's not a recovery. They keep cramming it down our throats, and we keep barfing it back to them that we don't have a real recovery. Sure, Wall Street's recovering, but that's about it, and that's about to end. When this money printing does not work or cannot go on, oh boy, expect everything to get repriced. That's for sure. Finally, I got to show you this. This is in the Just Kidding segment. U.S. set to clear Ferguson officer. Well, he's been exonerated. Darren Wilson, the police officer that shot Michael Brown, the 18-year-old kid who was unarmed but yet, was in a strong-arm robbery, 10 minutes before Darren Wilson meets up with him. He has a struggle. He hits him in the head. He tries to grab his gun. Gun goes off in the car. He charges the officer. Wilson shoots him. He's been cleared. And this is MLK with the hands up. So this whole hands up, don't shoot thing is based on an enormous lie. The lie that white cops were running around the country and executing young black men who are unarmed. Oh, and here's my favorite right here. Black Lives Matter. No, Black Lives don't matter if it's the enormous black on black death rate that where more than 5,500 blacks kill each other every year. Black lives don't matter to Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, and the president, and they certainly don't matter in Chicago, where Jesse Jackson and the president come from. That's like an oven up there. It's horrible. Hands up, don't shoot. Enormous insult to hardworking police officers. They're not perfect, but they're not running around the country murdering black people who are unarmed. Not happening. Didn't happen. And take a look at Ferguson. Ferguson was set on fire based on hype and lies. That's right. Hype and lies. You think about all the businesses that were burned to the ground, most of them owned by minorities. Their town was used as a political piñata by the likes of Al Sharpton. And the President of the United States sent him there. That's outrageous and shameful. Al Sharpton on his TV show at MSNBC arranging some fundraisers to help these folks get back on their feet. After all, Wilson has been exonerated by Eric Holder and the Justice Department. He did nothing wrong. I'm Greg Hunter. Thank you for supporting USA Watchdog with your comments and donations. That's the way I see it. Fear not.